Better Place Blueprint, a short podcast about how the world can be better, told by the people who are doing it now.
The human brain has a negative bias. We pay attention to the bad stuff more carefully than the good. And most media compounds that effect. The stories we consume are often full of tragedy and sorrow. But we can try to rebalance this bias into something that's more equitable. Hi, I'm Siobhan Hunt, and in this podcast, I'm chatting to people who are changing the world for the better, to recalibrate the dark with the light. This is a Better World Blueprint. There's nothing quite like singing to lighten your heart, and singing with a group of friends can create lifetime bonds. Marnie Fairlie is the linchpin of this joy for lots of women. As a choir conductor, she wrangles many voices into one harmonious, joyous chorus. She leads 2 choirs in the all-female humming song group, one in Paddington and the other in Dulwich Hill, Sydney. She also teaches music at Broderick Gillawana School, a kindergarten to year 12 special education school for children with mild to severe disabilities. And I should also mention, I'm part of one of her choirs. I hope you enjoy this chat with the lovely teacher and choir conductor, Marnie Fairlie. Hi, Marnie.
Hi, Siobhan.
Welcome to A Better World Blueprint.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's lovely to have you because you are, of course, choir master. What do you call it? Master, conductor? It sounds like you've got more control over us than you actually do.
Probably, yes. I'll go with conductor.
And you have a musical background. You studied music, you teach music in high school, and you conduct choirs. What led you to conducting in choirs specifically?
I've always sung. I've always sung in choirs. I've never been a soloist. I'm not a trained singer, but I just cannot stop singing. So I've always been in choirs. And then when an opportunity came up for humming song, my kids were quite small and I went, oh, no, I'm not ready for that yet. It's hard enough just dealing with 2 children and a full-time job. So I kept my eye on humming song for a few years after that. And then I approached them thinking I would love to do this because I'd seen them perform just on YouTube videos. And then I thought, can I do this? Am I able to do this? Because I've always conducted children's choirs through schools, which is very different, so different. And but sometimes maybe not so different. I don't know. I thought I've got to do this. I've got to give it a try. So I contacted Anna Humberstone, who is the head of all of Humming Song, and said, here's my CV. I'm interested. What do you think? And she wrote back saying, let's have coffee. And I thought, okay, so this is a very informal interview. Okay, I can do this. And we went and had coffee and I thought it'd be a half an hour. I wrote down my answers to all the questions she might have asked. And we sat there nursing 1 cup of coffee for, I think, about 3.5 hours. And we talked and talked and talked and talked. And I realized that I was on the same wavelength as these people and I've got to give it a shot. So I jumped in there, very much a deep end, and I absolutely loved it from the word go.
So in that conversation, you thought it'd be like an interview. It ends up being this huge conversation where you're going, okay, I like what she's putting down here. I like what she's saying. I like what she's talking about. What were the things that you really liked about humming song and the choir and the way Anna approached things?
I think we started off by almost finishing each other's sentences and or blurting out the same thing at the same time and then looking at each other thinking, yeah, here we have it. It was the fact that when people come up and say, oh, I love singing, but I can't sing. Yes, you can. And we always say that, yes, everyone can sing. Okay, everyone's very different in their singing, but we can sing. And we kept on saying the same things about music. And because I've been in so many choirs that they're auditioned, and it is terrifying. Even if, I've prepared as much as I can do, it's terrifying. And everyone has the right to sing. And the idea of humming song, it's inclusive. Anyone can join. It's non-auditioned. And it's about the joy of singing primarily. That's what it's about. That hit a note with me, so to speak. I thought, yeah, this is where I need to be. I want to go out there and sing and conduct women who just want to enjoy themselves.
You chose the right choir then.
Yes.
And I probably should go back a few steps because, of course, you conduct 2 choirs with humming song, but you also teach music. So music is obviously part of your DNA.
Yeah.
How did you come to make it your, I suppose, life's work? Not wanting to make it sound too grandiose, I know that there's still a job, but obviously there's something about music and what you get from teaching it and what you see the impact is that made you pursue that path, right?
Yeah, I think I did a music education degree, and then I didn't teach straight away. So I went overseas and I traveled around and I taught in schools as, casual teachers, and it was fun. I learned a lot from many, many children over there, but I still hadn't really decided that was the thing I was going to do as a career. And then I came back to Sydney and I thought, oh, look, I better give this teaching thing a try again. I've got the degree. So I went into a school and I started with high school and I absolutely loved it. It wasn't until after I had my children that I thought, oh, young kids, this is where it's at. They're little sponges. They take on everything. And I went and not retrained, but I got an extra training in a music methodology called Kodai, which is a Hungarian music education that's been going around for a zillion years. And then since then, I've gone into special education. So I work in a school for kids with disabilities from mild to severe. And the rewards you get, it's just something very, very special. And it's about seeing the little lights in their eyes when they've learned something or they can do something. I go home, hug my kids a little bit harder, and then think, this is where I need to be. And every day there's a little win, a little reward.
One of my questions to people is always, once you decided what you were going to do, what did you do next? And you've just explained that. You started your music education, you became a teacher, you found your way into special education and conducting choirs, which obviously gives you great reward in both of those areas, which we can talk about a little bit more. But the next question after that is, did you ever stumble? And I think that can look differently for different people in different careers. So obviously you found your way quite organically into these roles because you had a teaching degree and you liked to sing. But I think sometimes stumbles can actually be really practical things. It doesn't have to be a crisis of confidence. Stumbles can be working out, how do I make a living from this? Or, practical things like, how do I get the training I need to do this? Or how do I find the place in which to do this type of teaching? Were there any of those kinds of stumbles?
Of course, there's always a stumble. I mean, every day there's a stumble. From the most basic things of being in the classroom, you go in with this wonderful lesson plan and you think this is going to be a great lesson. The kids are going to love it. And they end up hating what you're doing. And you think, what did I do wrong? And you have to rethink things. I think the stumbles for me for getting into teaching was, what's going to really make me enjoy this? At first, it was very much, this is the degree I have. This is what I have to do. I'm not sure whether I want to do it. So I was just teaching overseas to earn money, to travel, because that's why I was overseas. But then once I got into certain positions, I just loved it. And the things that the kids taught me, I think my first job in London, I actually don't know what I taught them, but what they taught me was something much, much bigger than I could have taught them.
Can you think of any specific life lessons the kids taught you?
I think it's going to sound really, very sort of generic, that whatever you think you're going through, so me specifically, that I think, oh God, everything's very stressing at the moment, or everything's falling apart. And then you go in and you have a lesson with a child and you hear maybe a bit of background about them and you think, really? Nothing's really wrong with my life. And if they can come to school every day with whatever's going on in their background, which could be anything, you can still learn from them. Like I had one girl who she didn't even have a home. She was not on the street, but, going from pillar to post. And she would come into school and she would make me laugh, sometimes cry. And, I'd often take her out of class because she couldn't cope. And we'd go to this little room, which was called like a breakout zone, and we'd just sing. We'd dance, we'd put on her music, which taught me a lot about all the young person's music. And that was my day. And I think that was probably the most incredible life lesson I've had. It's like, no matter what's going on, look at the enjoyment we can get and make the most of.
It sounds to me that you kind of approached your work with an openness of mind that not everyone would have. Can you see that in yourself? The fact that you could go into that classroom and go, all right, now what am I learning from you?
It took me a while to realize that you can't go in with this black and white approach of this is how the lesson's going to go. This is what I'm going to teach the children. This is the outcomes I'm going to get. This is what I'm going to assess them on, because it was never like that. So I think I learned pretty quickly on, especially in teaching, you've just got to go in there with an open mind. And sometimes it's completely different to what you expect. Could be bad or it could be amazing. And I think I've had some really bad days teaching, really bad days, but some amazing ones that overshadow everything. So I think as I get older, I'm a bit more relaxed about it.
Has your teaching work changed you?
Yeah, I think it has. I think it's teaching plus getting older. That sounds so funny. I'm not that old yet, am I?
No,
but,
you're not.
But I think as you get older, you change your mind. I'm less impatient. Now it's sort of opened this world of just be open-minded, be kind, listen. I think listening is so, so important, and just sit back and watch what's happening around you. And then that makes the teaching experience, whether it be choirs or children or whatever it may be, more enjoyable. So I think it's made me more patient and just a bit more sort of compassion and kindness that I didn't have when I was younger.
It's hard to imagine, Marnie, but the common thread, of course, between the education and the conducting is the music and the singing. Can you imagine not singing? What is it that singing brings to your life in a group the way you do it?
I wouldn't have a life without music. I have to have music in my life. It's sort of twofold. It's sort of I know that I can give a lot by teaching or by conducting or by leading a group, but it's also what you guys can give back to me. Like I get so much back from every rehearsal I do, every lesson I have, well, most every lesson, and mostly. And I think that's very connected. I can't imagine life without music, full stop, because it's always been a part of my life since I was a small child. But I just get so much back. I turn up to a rehearsal or a lesson. I get there tired and I see all your faces. I see the smiles and I see the cheekiness and I think, yep, this is where we are. And everything goes out of my mind and it's all about the music and the joy in the room.
What kind of impact have you seen, let's start in the classroom, from the work that you do with your kids?
It's the smaller, or to me, the bigger things I see. For example, I was teaching out in a school in the western suburbs of Sydney in a mentoring capacity. And some of these children were from many different backgrounds, but they saw me come in and I would just walk in, start singing, because that's what I can do. They just looked at me and thought, who is this woman that's come into our life and is telling me to sing? And the defence boards went up and these small children, aged 7, would just sit there like this, I'm not singing type thing. And then by the end of the term, that's the one lesson they loved. They're like, when are we having singing with Marnie again? When can we sing again? And the teacher said, these children have never sung in their lives. And then there's one child who was always getting into trouble, let's say, and because he was talking and doing the wrong things and, for whatever reason, he was the sweetest kid in the world. And he came up to me at the end of my time there, and I'm going to try not to cry, but he'd written, Miss Marnie, I've written you a song. I went, excuse me? This is the child that wouldn't sing. And he'd written this song out. It was just beautiful. He'd written the words. It was just the most beautiful thing in the world. And because he didn't know how to notate the music, but he'd just write the little sticks of the notes and little dots here and there, and it was his way, and it illustrated it. And I've got it to this day in one of my drawers. That's what it's about. And whether or not he's ever going to do music again, God, I hope he does. But this is a kid who looked at me as if I was some stranger and some alien in his life. And then by the end of it, he was the one waiting for me every lesson with these beautiful little things he gave me. So they're the things I'm going to remember.
And what about the choir? Because even in our choir, which is Luana, the one in Paddington, has such a variety of women from all backgrounds, all ages.
Oh, yes.
There are plenty of songs that make us all cry. But I'm just wondering, in that process of teaching such a variety of women, have you seen the impact of that kind of gathering of community? And
yes. To see these women come together, not knowing anyone, and going, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, nice to meet you. Oh, I love to sing too. And it was all very shy, the way they sang. And then as they got bolder, and they just thought, okay, this is where I'm meant to be. I love singing. Friendships just started to form. So it's the friendship, it's the community, and it's the sense of safeness. I feel very, very safe in that group. And women who come in who are nervous, thinking, I'm not in the right place, I don't think I'm good enough, soon realize that everyone's in the same boat. We come from every different, background, part of Sydney, our upbringings are very different. It doesn't matter. Once we're together, it does not matter who we are, just that we're a community. The singing in concerts is truly exhilarating. Getting out there in the community and just giving joy to people who might not have that joy in their life at the moment. That's what we're about.
Oh, you definitely give many people lots of joy, Marnie. Thank you for speaking with me.
Siobhan, thank you so much.
Marnie Fairlie, music teacher and choir conductor. Marnie's life sounds inspired. Music is obviously the thing that fills her heart. But if you'd like to learn more about her motivations in life, like the best decision she's ever made, make sure you check out the links in the show notes. Next time on A Better World Blueprint, one mother's search for answers that led to huge changes for children in Australia.
There wasn't a plan to become a charity or a plan to become an organisation. There was a desperate need to connect with other parents.
That's Rebecca Robertson, founder of the first parent-led peer support group and information hub for transgender kids and their families, Transcend. Sometimes you change the world for the better when you start changing the world for just one person. Come back and listen to her story in the next episode of A Better World Blueprint. I'm Siobhan Hunt. See you then.